All right. Welcome in. This is Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 137. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking Frankenstank. We got some Frankenstank draft going on. We're discussing the draft. We're discussing the structure. We're discussing the cards. The cards are a hot topic. The draft structure is a hard topic. So this will be our third episode this offseason discussing this. But now things are actually happening, and it's real for all of us. So it's going to be a little easier to discuss. And welcome back from Canton, because we had the FF Expo this past weekend. Things got wild and rowdy. Things were fun. And I got a few guys with me this evening who are in Frankenstank. And I got a few guys with me who are at Canton as well. I'm going to start with those guys. I'm going to start with my co-host, my main man, Justin Stevens, at JustinFF_. Justin, how are we doing, man? How are we transitioning back into the real world?
Dude, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. It was a great weekend. It was so I was so jacked. I got to meet Shane Hallam at Canton. We got to hang out. Broke bread a couple of times. Once was by complete accident, so that was awesome. Yeah, we started the Frankenstank drafts right there on Saturday, or was it Friday night?
Friday night, yep.
Friday night from your Airbnb, and now here we are, at least for our division, the porta potty division, into round 10. Some of them are flying by, and one of them are slacking off. But
yeah, man. I got a review. So I love when people review us on Apple Podcasts. So if you have Apple Podcasts, I love it. We got 5-star reviews. Throw that for us. Next year this year right now, believe we're at 60 Frankenstank teams in 5 divisions. Next year we're going to be up to 90. So there'll be 3 more divisions, and an easy way to get in is leave us a 5-star review. But we got reviewed by our Airbnb house. They sent me a review, and they said you guys were great. And that you guys, so like now I have a review as a customer. So
that's awesome, man. They didn't clearly they didn't talk to the neighbor next door whose football kept going. We had to keep going over to get the football, but
yeah, well that goes to show we didn't have a quarterback. We were in trouble, but yeah. So they, now basically I'm like a highly sought after Airbnb customer. So if you have an Airbnb, send me your information. I'll consider it. I'll consider going over there. I'm 5-star basically. All right. And my other guy right next to us, Justin talked about him, the man from NFL Draft Countdown. We got Shane Hallam at Shane P. Hallam on the Twitter. Shane, what's cooking?
What's up, guys? It was nice to finally meet you both and a bunch of the Toilets to Titles teams. So I appreciate you inviting me out to breakfast. And, we ran into each other a couple times. So, yeah, Canton was fun. I got COVID, so I'm not feeling great now. But the weekend was great. So that's really what matters.
Right, man. So yeah, we got to bump into each other. It was awesome meeting Shane. It was awesome going out to breakfast. People busted my chops. I got my chops busted because I had an outline. I had a schedule, so because I had that schedule, it wasn't for that schedule. Shane would have never known. Like weeks in advance, we were going out for breakfast. He reached out to me when I was on the way to Canton. He was like, "Hey man, if you're still planning breakfast, let's meet up." And I was like, "Yeah, of course. It's on the dock. So we're doing it."
It was great. It was a great spot too. Like I loved it. So you guys are all so nice, all so genuine. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent. All right, we got another member of Toilets Titles down here, Joe Arachi at Drop the Leash, JC on the Twitter. How we doing this evening, my man?
It's all about Frankenstank all day. People complaining about how long the draft can take, but at the same time, like as soon as I wake up, I'm like, all right, let's check it out. Let's see what's happening. What did I miss? Did I miss any picks? And then the other part that's kind of nice too is, I don't want to take a lot of time up with my picks, but you get to think about it for a minute, right? Like I'm doing DraftKings best ball tourneys right now. You get 30 seconds a pick if you want to do it live, which is hardly enough time to even look at more than one position group. So it's nice to have 5 or 10 minutes to make a really calculated decision with your Frankenstank pick. And then just lastly, real quick, I wish there was a behind the music for the creation of Frankenstank.
Yeah. One
Because
day.
forget about a league with 60 people. Think about trying to schedule a draft with 10 and 12. Never mind 60 and everything that goes into it. But as we get into the cards, to your point before, Coach, like hearing about it prior to playing in it, it's almost overwhelming. And I was like scared. I was like intimidated to play in it, intimidated to help run it, man, you know, as far as administration goes. But like, once you take one read through those cards and give yourself like a minute to understand it, you're like, holy crap, there is a lot going on here. And it's absolutely phenomenal. It's my first shot at it, and I'm loving it.
Man, we should one day, maybe we'll be important enough to have a behind the music of us just with our ramblings, me and Justin just going back and forth about all this stuff, man. But we are happy to have you in it this year. And also Joe, he's going to be hosting or co-hosting with us a dash of DFS Thursday nights. That's going to be starting probably around like 7:30, 7:45, and it goes right up until Thursday Night Football kickoff. So if you're trying to pass the time, that's the show you want to check out. We got tons of shows. If you want to check out our in-season schedule, check out at Toilets and Titles on Twitter. The pinned tweet is the schedule. And I was looking at last year's, and I remember working with Campy last year on the in-season schedule, and we tried to make a cool graphic. And we had like 4 or 5 shows, and I was like, man, like we have come such a long way. That was year 2. Year 1, we just had 1. This year, we got like 11. we got, and it's not just all like regurgitated stuff. Everything is different. So you want to follow along with us. I mean, if you're already watching right now, there's a good chance you are. But if you're not, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell. You'll get alerted every time we go live. Like, comment, all that stuff helps us out. And then we got 2 more guests, and both of these guys are first timers. And I'm going to start with my neighbor, practically my main man, the Falcons fan, Coach Fry, Bubba Fry. What's happening? How we doing this evening?
Good. What's going on, gentlemen? How are you? Glad to finally get to see most of you guys on here, and excited to help you guys out.
Yeah, excellent. How we feeling about Frankenstank so far? Just a little. How we feeling about it?
As things go along, it's I think you rearrange your draft picks as you're going, because you're like, oh man, I could lose somebody. I better have a backup plan. And plus, a lot of the guys that are in it right now are pretty fantasy football savvy. So, you know, you got guys lined up to go. And I got sniped 3 times, twice just today. So,
yeah, you're in my division. Our division's rolling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're in
absolutely
good shape. We're in good shape. Yeah, it's crazy because I think I have a plan, and then I get on the clock. And it looks like, Justin, you wanted to say something? Go ahead, my man.
Just when you're ready, I want to introduce the next guest.
Go ahead, man. You can introduce him.
All right. So our next guest, for those of you that didn't see it, we were on a show together with, what was that, John Gwynn?
McClin.
McClin, yeah, John.
Or McGlynn. I always say his name wrong.
So things got a little heated between me and this guest, John, here. So if you go back and watch that episode, we kind of went back and forth with our Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry conversation. But I do got to say, he also has more reason to hate me, because a little bit later I kind of in a weird way, but not on purpose, kind of big timed him and pushed him off of the Titans breakdown episode for a much larger guest. And then karma hit me, because that much larger guest has bailed on me like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, no.
So I've given up on him. So, John, you're back in if you want back in, buddy.
I love it.
So John, at Dynasty Coach A, he is a big Titans fan. So I'm really hoping that he will forgive me and come on to the Titans breakdown here within the next few weeks, because we're starting to run out of time before the season starts. So I will make sure to get your information over to George and Nino. They're the ones that have been setting it up. But John, how are we feeling tonight, and how are you feeling about the Frankenstank League?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I'm really proud of you for being able to remember that night, because the bourbon was flowing, and I definitely do not remember much about that Titans discussion. But yeah, that'd be really cool to jump on your Titans discussion and your Titans pod. I'll definitely do that. And yeah, this is pretty cool. You know, the Frankenstank, something that I've been preparing for at least, a year and a half now. Something. Oh, actually, that's not true. I got thrown in round 3.
So you, I believe, so you were one of the first. So last year, first year was 14 teams. Last year was 36 teams, and you have to imagine as we get bigger, there's going to be players that kind of bail or cut out, and I'm happy that didn't happen in the first 2 years. But you're one of the first people ever to get lined up to hop on, and you came in the third round, and it's a lot. Like, it was a lot for you to catch up. Why don't you kind of explain all of this being thrown in your face and having to catch up that quickly?
Well, luckily, I'm kind of like the guy when it comes to like unique leagues and stuff like that. I commish quite a few unique leagues that are not exactly the same as this, but have similar bonuses and crazy things. I do. I get pretty nerdy with mine. I have a Harry Potter league, and you have like bonuses like your wands and wizards and whatever else. And then this year we added 2 Lord of the Rings leagues, and then next year we're planning on adding like a Star Wars league, possibly multiples of that. So once again, not exactly the same, and I wouldn't want it to be, but there's definitely some similarities with like the boosts and bonuses and things like that. So it wasn't like this completely out of left field, kind of deal for me or anything like that. But obviously there's a lot going on, like you said, and luckily you guys had the bylaws all pretty well written out, and I was able to go through and look at the rules and everything, figure out the cards. Obviously I understand what the cards are, but I can't remember what the cards are. Some people are like sitting there going back and forth about, well, I have this card and I have that card, and I have to go and look at the the bylaws or at the rules and be like, okay, that's what that card's for. So it was definitely interesting diving in after the first 2 rounds, which I know you guys have talked about it on previous pods, but the first 2 rounds are only rookies only, and I guess that's the good and the bad news, because, man, I'm not trying to really talk crap about anyone, but the person I took over for, I don't know what he was doing. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you were willing, and we're glad you have the experience, because you did come on and there has been no hiccups at all. And I'm glad you read the bylaws, because there are quite a few people in here who didn't read the bylaws, so much so that I had my man Jesse create a PDF. And then this morning I spent about 10 minutes copying, pasting every single email address from the page. So that was 60, and sending out a PDF file. So now everybody can at least read all that over. It's a duplicate of the bylaws. So luckily we did write that up. This was a process. It was an undertaking, but we tried to make sure we had our foundation set so that we don't have any hiccups throughout the season. So everybody on here is in Frankenstank. We're blessed and happy to have you on. And I'm excited to talk about this stuff. Before we do, I just want to make sure everybody goes check out toiletstotitles.com. We have tons of articles coming in right now. We got people writing left and right. Also, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/toiletstotitles. We have 5 tiers right now. I'm not going to just discuss them all. The cheapest tier, $3. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. That's once a month. Gets you into the group chat on Discord. From there, we discuss everything. And then we got waiver wire episodes with the next tier. We got invited to Frankenstank, and then free entry to Frankenstank, all that good stuff. Check out patreon.com/toiletstotitles. All right. So, Shane, you've been in this from the jump. All right. So, how has it been for you this year, with some of the changes? What was the build up to the draft like for you?
No, I think last year prepared me well for, the structure and feeling good kind of about my plan and making that adjustment. I mean, we'll get into the cards, but I think that addition adds an entire new layer to strategy, right? And that's something you guys have done every year. It's like, oh, here's this like huge thing. Like, it's not like a small thing. Like, it has a little addition, change the scoring a little. No, it's like, here's this huge thing that completely just wrecks what it is. So I ended up making the decision early to bypass the cards and build my team. Other people, Justin, did not decide to do that. So it's made for an interesting structure in our league. And I think that was the biggest adjustment for me. I like it because I think I'm getting more value than I ever have the last 2 years, but I'll regret it when someone plays a card on me and I'm hurting that way.
Yeah. When we decided to do the cards, and then we had to decide like what to do with the draft, and we had like a pretty big back and forth discussing when do we want the cards to be drafted? Because if you're not familiar with the league, the first 4 rounds have a specific structure. The first 2 rounds are rookie only. The third round is veteran non-quarterback only. The fourth round is veteran quarterback only. And then the 5th round is wide open. It's fair game from then on. So we're like, when do we want the cards to be picked? And last year was very high. Like the rookie class was very strong. This year, luckily, over the past few weeks, which is going to happen, with training camp and stuff, some more rookies emerged. But 2 months ago, the pool seemed a lot smaller, right? So I was like, why don't we make it the only thing that's eligible to be drafted in every round be the cards? And I got some resistance because people were like, yeah, well, this year everyone's going to go cards and next year no one's going to be cards. And personally, I thought that's great. If the value of the card changes year in and year out, that's incredible. And then we have this draft and it's chaos. So I was wrong. They were wrong. It's kind of just been sprinkled in. Nobody knows what to do. And I love that. So Joe, you kind of discussed some of this stuff and you're trying to study all this stuff. What were your thought processes about, like, how did you prepare for the draft? Like, what did you think about some of these rules, about the cards? Like, what was your overall thought process?
Yeah, man, I've been dying to dive into this. So a little intimidated with the first 2 rounds. I'm not a big rookie guy. So the idea of 2 rounds of rookies. So for me, I knew that I was going card in the 2nd round because I wasn't taking what I believe to be a watered down 2nd round rookie that's not going to crack my starting lineup probably for quite a while. So that's a question I have right off the bat. Have we found throughout the divisions, was the 2nd round a huge card round? And then one other question real quick, and this is an administrative question. I should have asked this a while back for my own strategy. Can you only draft 1 card per team? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can't steal cards. So there's no trading in this league. Also, if you're listening at home, so you cannot steal cards and you can only draft 1 card. And you know what? I can probably look and try to see where the draft was with the cards, but
I'm doing it right now.
All right. It looked like it's been sprinkled all over. And I was going to go Kenneth Walker with the 2nd selection. And I also want to clear the air. Jesse has been getting a lot of heat for giving me the 2nd pick because he's my buddy. When Justin said he was going to do that with Uncle Steve, and then Alex legitimately didn't know the dude who won his division and just asked him for the 1st pick, and the dude gave it to him. So we're like, like that. If we're going to get pointed out, point these guys out too. So if this is the first time you're listening to anything with Frankenstank, the draft order is decided by a rock, paper, scissors tournament. The winner of the rock, paper, scissors tournament then gets to pick the draft order for his or her division. But anyway, I was going to go Kenneth Walker, Treylon Burks, and there was so much talk within Toilets to Titles about cards leading up to it and power rankings of cards that I feel like I was kind of talked into, which I'm okay with it. I went with Ghostbuster. My favorite card was Pennywise. And for those listening at home, Pennywise means a player on your roster can become any player at the position you play this card for that week. But it cannot be a player on your opponent's roster. So any player. I love that card. But the card I ultimately ended up taking with the 2nd selection was the Ghostbuster card. You get to block your opponent from using their monster card. They still lose their monster card as if they used it. It needs to be played within 12 hours of your opponent playing his or her card. So I love that card. So, Kevin, I believe this is your first year in Frankenstank, right?
Yes.
So now this is going to be the ground for you, where, as Shane said, we kind of shook the foundation every season since he's been here, but this is where your starting point is. And I'm already brainstorming. I'm going to tell you it's not a steady foundation, because it is going to be shook next year. But how do you feel about all this? What was your thought process going into the draft?
To be honest with you, I went in, I was looking, hey, let's have some fun. The cards are up, and hey, I'm a gambling man. I want to take a card 1st round. I think I told you guys on one of your podcasts, I sent you a message that I was gonna take the Leprechaun card, and with the 6th pick. And then going through it and looking at all the cards, I went with the Jekyll and Hyde card, only because I feel that either I can help myself out heading into the playoffs for a division by getting rid of somebody's best player when we're in a close game fighting for a spot, or when it gets near the end, somebody in my division work their way into the second round draft pick, and if I can hammer them for doing that and maybe hurt them, playoffs or most points, winning, I might do that. You never know.
Right. So I'm going to explain the cards here that you discussed. The Leprechaun, this one is Justin's baby, all right? Justin loves the wheel. The Leprechaun card, this card needs to be played before we record our weekly show, which is on Tuesday nights. When you play this card, we will spin the Leprechaun wheel on the show, and whatever it lands on will be your bonus for the week. So, Justin, I think there's 20 items on this wheel.
Yep, there's 20 items. I have them all pulled up, but I'm not going to go through every single one of them. But
touch on like two or three things.
Yeah, so for instance, if you spin the wheel and it lands on number 5, number 5 is add 100 points to your season total, your season overall total score points for. That's huge because a lot of our playoff spots are based on points scored. If you hit a number, let's say you spin the wheel and you get number 10, it is, and I chose these at random because that's just how I am. You must spin the wheel 2 more times and accept the fate of both of the spins. Ooh. So that one's kind of cool.
Yeah.
13, you can't make any free agent moves this week or next week. Number 16, you must start the same lineup. This one's kind of like the mummy card, so we're kind of hitting 2 and 1. You must set the same lineup that you started last week, minus anyone that you lost or dropped in the free agent market. So if you dropped anybody out of your starting lineup or lost them to your opponent because you lost the previous week, those are the only slots that you can put in new players if somebody spins the wheel and if you spin the wheel and that's what you land on. So there's good, there's bad, there's definitely some ugly in there. But I also have the numbers on your first and second round monster cards. Out of the 60 people in the league, because there's 5 divisions, 12-team division, 60 people in the league, 17 people chose to take a monster card in the first round, and 21 chose to take a monster card in the second round. That's a total of 38, leaving only 22 people left after the first 2 rounds to select their monster card. And I've got to believe that those are most likely people that are mostly planning on waiting a little bit later, get the value for the players and get their card much later on, which is also a great strategy. Like, just because I took what I thought was the 101 in the first round doesn't mean that I wasn't completely wrong. Because
but also it's all about week 1. Don't get it twisted. This is a vampire style league.
Yeah.
There is no like next week. It is you need to line up, and rookies, generally speaking, especially the 20th or to 24th rookie, aren't going to help you out of the gate. So give me that card so I can win this week. Or if I don't win, I could still steal a player, because then that's going to make me stronger for next week. That's what I think.
Whoa. I think we're all forgetting about Khalil Shakir here, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get him, then I think you just got to go ahead and take him, right?
Yeah. Well, why don't you, John, go ahead? You came in the third round. So from what you saw, from what happened in the first 2 rounds, what was your immediate, like, I don't know, what was your reaction to what you saw? What was your plan of attack? Moving on from there, what was your reaction to the cards? Because you didn't have any time to marinate with this. It was like bing, bang, boom with you.
Yeah, it was. In fact, I believe, I know for sure that you were like, not only is it, are you joining the league, but you're on the clock. So I was definitely thrown in the fire there. But just so everyone knows, whoever was in charge of my team before me took Jameson Williams, which, when I think redraft, I always think, injured rookie, and then Khalil Shakir in the second round. So while everyone else was strategizing and picking player cards and everything, I have 2 players that probably won't see the field until at least November. So I was on the clock, and I went ahead, I looked at what had happened, and I saw some of those player cards had been taken and everything, and I saw what I had as far as rookies. And Garrett Wilson went the pick after Khalil Shakir. Like, it just you're going to hear me say Khalil Shakir like 150 times before the end of the night. But at that point, I decided like I already kind of have a disadvantage, so why not just kind of go upside here? It's a redraft league. It's not dynasty or anything like that where I have to worry about like ruining the next 10 years. So like, why not just go with some upside? I went with CMC with my first pick, and then I just kind of decided to stick with some upside players for the most part for a lot of my picks. I don't know if you want me to get into all of them, but that's basically what I kind of decided to do at that point.
So, do you have a card?
I do not as of yet. I like you said, I knew by reading the bylaws that everyone gets one, and so at that point I decided that I was already behind the 8 ball, and so I didn't want to make it worse by taking a card and then just having no players, and so I just decided to fill a team, and then I'll get a card at some point, like maybe soon. I'm not saying I'm going to wait until the last round necessarily. I might. I don't really know. I haven't truly made up my mind, but. I'm focusing. I looked up the last 4 cards because the rest were literally gone. Like I didn't even have an option on them. They were gone by the time I made my first actual pick. So I looked up the rest of the cards, and like they're pretty nice, but I don't know if any of them necessarily have a like an advantage over the other ones per se. So I might just wait until the end. Who knows?
Karen's in here, and Karen said hashtag team no card yet. Go ahead, Justin.
For what it's worth, though, John, you do understand how vampire leagues work, because you said earlier that you commissioned some. In our particular vampire league, or well, the Frankenstank here, whenever you steal a player, it has to be from the opponent's starting lineup, and you have to give back a player from the same position in your starting lineup. So from that aspect, at least now you got a couple of guys that you can try to throw in there if you're confident you're going to win, so that you can trade them off and replace. Because
that might be the question though about the confidence and everything. I mean, I'm happy with my team, but I wonder how much happier I would have been, right, had I had a Garrett Wilson or whoever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Jameson Williams as a player. I just I don't really love him in redraft.
Here's a strategy for you, John. If Jameson Williams is hurt, and you put him in, you take the Frankenstein card if it's available. All right. You put Jameson Williams in your starting lineup. That card, you get to take a player from your opponent's starting lineup score for the week and give him back the score of a player from the same position in your starting lineup. So if he's going to get a fat 0, you could give that to your opponent and take his points. And then because you got him in your starting lineup, you could go ahead and trade him for that player after the week's over.
I love it. Yeah, I'd probably just do that with Shakir because they're going to get the same amount of points. But I honestly think that Jameson Williams will score points at the end of the season, so I don't hate having him on my team. I don't know that I would have drafted him there. It's really Shakir that was the egregious one, if you will.
Excellent. Hey, Shane,
he did try drafting Jonathan Taylor several rounds too during the rookie portion of it.
Oh God.
Oh, that was a different guy. That was a different guy.
Was a different guy?
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't had more of that. I'm surprised you haven't had to back out more picks. I'm actually kind of impressed, unless there's been more that we just don't know about. But.
Yeah, I've probably had to back out 12 to 15, which isn't terrible. But it depends on where I am and what I'm doing, on whether or not it's terrible. But Shane, how's your draft coming together? Do you have 2 quarterbacks yet? It is super flex. Are you going all in for week 1? You playing the long game? What's your thoughts right now?
Yeah, well, I was pretty sad to have the 10th pick, mostly for the quarterbacks, right? Because that round 4 where everyone's drafting a quarterback, being the 10th guy to take one. But I got your boy Sheps, Dak Prescott.
Okay.
And then I came back with Derek Carr. I wanted to get those 2 quarterbacks done because I think that's where if you start losing your quarterbacks, like things get dicey really quick in this league. That's what I've learned the first 2 years. It's really hard to come back from that if you're always having inferior quarterback play. So I did that, and I stacked up Darren Waller with Derek Carr, which I was pretty happy about. and I've focused on receiver. I have not. The only running back I've taken is at the 110 is Dameon Pierce, which looks like it might work out pretty good. Maybe I have some RB2 potential there. I think if that happens, then I think I'm going to be, ahead of the 8 ball. But like you said, it's about winning early, right? And so my favorite pick I've made is my 903 Hollywood Brown. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended for 6 weeks. Like that's the kind of guys that you want is guys. I don't care if Hollywood Brown does anything in week 7 and 8. If I win the first 6 weeks, he's not even going to be on my team anymore. Who cares? But if he blows up in the first couple weeks because they have no other receiving options, I think that's what you really need to try to look for and get those guys that are going to break out super early.
Yeah, I got Zach Ertz for kind of a similar reason. Early on, I think the first few weeks he's going to have monster weeks. And Rich is in here saying Carr for MVP, man. I think I put some money on that this year. Shepard did, so I think it's worth it. So I got Lamar Jackson, and I stacked him up with Derek Carr. So I feel pretty good about that. And I know Fry down there, he drafted Dak Prescott. We were talking about it a little bit. So how's your draft coming along? How's your roster looking?
Actually, I'm pretty excited with my roster to wind up with Dak and then follow him up with Trevor Lawrence. I was sort of excited. I'm like, all right, I can deal with these 2 quarterbacks, decent quarterbacks. And then as you and I were talking back and forth, text message wise, all of a sudden you put in my head like, hey, what if I lose Dak? I lose a week and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm taking Dak from me. It's like, all right, I better get that 3rd quarterback now because as you're sitting there looking, all of a sudden, like the guys are going down and down and down. It's like, all right, do I take a chance with Daniel Jones? Do I take a chance, with a Mariota? And you're like, you know what? If I got to go with somebody, I took a chance on Tua. I was happy with my running backs. I jumped on Dalvin Cook right away. I think he's going to wind up having a big season. And then Javonte Williams, when he drops to me in the draft, and it's like, yeah, I got to take him too, So I feel good with my running backs, wide receivers. I think I'm a little bit behind, but hey, listen, so far I'm happy with the draft. Very happy.
I love it. Justin, is this the year you win it, man?
This is definitely the year that I start off with a decent lineup.
Go ahead. Let's hear it. Let's hear how you're doing.
In the past, I've been hit with the injury bug in Frankenstank before the season even started. I tried to get players that do not have a history of injury, so pretty much all I did was jinx every one of these stud players. But I will say real quick, Mike Darling wanted to make sure he posts this about Shane ruining his plan by taking Derek Carr where he did. And just so you know, that was also my plan in that same round. So you weren't going to get him anyway, Mike. But I'm kind of happy you did because you took Derek Carr. So with the next pick where I was going to take Carr, I went Travis Kelce. And if you look at the projections based on the new rules where we increase the first downs and the PPR for tight ends, Kelce was projected to get like 220 points more than the next best quarterback after Derek Carr was taken. It was like head and heels, like way above any of the other projected positions. So, and then the very next round, I was able to get Matt Ryan and stack him with Michael Pittman. The reason I went Matt Stafford with the 4th instead of going Dak Prescott like I wanted to was because in the 3rd round I got Cooper Kupp. So I feel like I've got 2 really strong stacks there with Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman. I went Ghostbuster card in the 1st round. I'm excited to have the Ghostbuster card. I think that it is I see you grinning, Shane. I think that it's a powerful card because the idea behind the Ghostbuster, I know that John mentioned it earlier, Coach. I need to say Coach since, well, they're both coaches. Shep said earlier that, it's kind of like nobody else is likely to play their card against you because if they do, you have 12 hours to play your card back to stop their card from being able to be played on yours. And then you both lose the card if that happens. So in my mind, there's only a couple of scenarios where someone might be willing to play their card against me. But overall, I don't see it happening early. The disadvantage is you don't get to use a card for power to help your team, but you're definitely playing defense every single week, which is a huge bonus as well. Hey, defense wins championships.
What do you say? What do you say if either you or I win Frankenstank this year? We have to get the Ghostbuster card tattooed somewhere.
I'm down.
Love it.
All right.
Honestly, I think the Ghostbuster card is probably one of the better ones because people are going to think, twice before throwing a card out there. Because when you get a card and you want to use it, you want something to happen. You want it to be good for your team. If I'm going to use a card knowing that, John, that you have the Ghostbusters card, I'm probably not going to use it. I'm going to save it to where it's going to, help me out. I'm not going to take that chance that you're going to save that card.
Yeah, no, I like it. That's the thought process.
It's the best card.
Yeah, that's
what?
So if one of us wins it's done.
This guy right behind me, John, this Frankenstein behind me, Frankenstank. This is Justin Stank.
Yeah,
he's gonna be holding the Slimer card when it gets tattooed on me.
I love it. So I love it. Joe, how's your draft going, man? How's your team looking?
So, with the cards real quick, I wish we had this conversation before the draft. I drafted the Silver Bullet card, which I'm extremely happy about.
It's a
Very
great card.
calculated decision. It was between, at the time, the Silver Bullet and the Mummy card. But that I think the Mummy card was taken. But reading them all, my favorite two at first were Silver Bullet and Mummy. The Mummy thing, to me, that is juicy. Seeing your opponent come off a week where they had 4 bye weeks, or the guys that they played last week, they're all on bye, right? So you could hit a team with 3 byes coming up and play that card on them, which I love the idea of. But I also love the idea of the Silver Bullet. Why
don't you let the listener know? Do you want me to read? I have the Mummy pulled up. You want me to read it, or you gotta pull?
No, because I got my lineup now. Do you mind reading it?
All right. So the Mummy card, your opponent must start the same lineup he started last week, he or she. The only exception is that if he had a player stolen from his starting lineup or he gave a player from his starting lineup, he gets to replace that player. All right. It must be played by. So we have deadlines for these cards. So you basically, like the Mummy, you get to solidify that lineup for another week.
Jason, we already decided. We already talked about this, man. Quit trying to find loopholes. It is hilarious. And there are going to be some loopholes in these cards. Don't get me wrong. And I believe that's where Shane has gotten in my head about the Slimer Ghostbuster card. But that particular one, you have to start the same lineup you started the previous week. And there you can't. There is no, previous week there. So we can't do that. The Mummy card, you have to wait till at least week 2 to play that card.
All right, so the Silver Bullet, which he's talking about, is also if you lose this week, you cannot have a player stolen from your roster. So you could block it, but you have to play it before the week. Right. So it's a week you kind of feel like you got a bad week. Yeah.
With bye weeks and matchups, you kind of have that hunch oh, shit, this is one of those weeks where, I'm going to be real lucky to get the win. So I feel okay about that. The Super Flex, just as somebody new, the Super Flex snuck up on me because I was so keyed in on playing a monster card, drafting the right monster card at the right time. I felt like personally I was catching up with rookie research with the first 2 rounds because normally I'm just not a big rookie guy, especially early. So the Super Flex crept up on me, and I ended up with Justin Fields to go with Lamar Jackson because I saw the QBs start going. So I went, I'm hoping Fields gets me some yards and TDs with his legs, as well as, the whatever it is he does with his arm. But real quick, I'd love to get your guys, just being new. I don't know if this is a good draft or not so far. It feels good to me. But real quick, I got Lamar Jackson and Fields, Austin Eckler, and then my actual my stack is a little unique. I drafted both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I feel like, I'm thinking back to Thomas Jones and Jamal Charles in those Chiefs days where you could play both of them and be very successful that one year. I don't remember exactly what year it was. Secondly, I'm feeling like maybe I screw with people's heads a little bit when they're going to steal a player from me. I got both Jones and Dillon, so I'm kind of protecting myself a little bit. And maybe somebody chooses the wrong one. I don't know. A little unique there. And then my wideouts are Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, and Drake London. And then I got Dallas Goedert to go with them at tight end. So I'll stop there. I don't know what you guys think of that, how that stacks up to everybody else. Seems kind of on par with everybody else in here, but
Man, Clay Harbor had nothing but good things to say about Dallas Goedert on the tight end episode that Justin just recorded with him. He was saying something like he only had 72 targets last year, and he had like a ridiculous amount of yards. I think he had more yards than Dalton Schultz, who had 102 targets. So the dude can block. So I like Goddard. You know, I don't know who's listening at home, but I'm up in 2 picks, and I'm looking to get him, stack him with Zach Ertz. So Fry, don't put that in the chat. They're not listening. They don't get to know that.
Listen, I just took my tight end about 2 minutes ago. So
I saw that. Yeah, you got Pat Fryermuth. So I like it. I like the running backs. I do remember that, man. Or even when Thomas Jones, wasn't he with Damian Tomlinson too? So you know, there he had a history, I think, of being in dual backfields. So I like that, man. I think that's interesting. And DK Metcalf, he's probably one of the biggest wild cards in this league because of the bonuses for big yards, you know, touchdowns. He's going to be a guy who could probably have some of the biggest weeks. And he could, on the other hand, you know, have some of the smallest weeks. But all you need is that one big week, and you can get yourself a big player. So, John, how are you feeling about your roster so far? I know how you feel about your rookies, but how you feel about the rest of the guys?
Yeah, honestly, I do like that team. I will say with having the 2 running backs from the same team, maybe you're killing your own upside because obviously you can only score so many touchdowns, you know, per game and all that kind of thing. But there's definitely some safety involved as well. So in this kind of league, you know, maybe I don't know. I like it. I don't know. Like I said, it could kill your upside, and maybe upside's king here. But like I said, with my draft, I ended up going all upside because I figured I was already kind of screwed anyway. So I started off with CMC. Then I went with Russell Wilson, which just I was at the end of the 4th round, which you have to take a QB, a veteran QB in the 4th round. So I was right there at the end. I went ahead and took Russ, which I loved. I mean, I was very happy about that. Love him there. And then I went ahead and took a player that I do not have in any other league. I'm in 24 dynasty leagues. I'm in multiple redraft leagues and Scott Fishbowl and everything else. I do not have a single Kyle Pitts until this league. So I guess we're going to go ahead and run with Kyle Pitts here. But I also was looking at the scoring like Justin was talking about earlier, and I saw that the tight ends score like crazy in this league, at least with the settings the way they are this year. I obviously I have no idea about last year, but I figured Pitts is going to be at the very least a very good tight end this year. And so if Travis Kelce's scoring 200 more points than like a good wide receiver, then Kyle Pitts, even if he just has a decent year, is probably going to score as much as a good wide receiver, or something like that. So I just went ahead and took him there, and I was pretty happy with that start. I'm the 11th pick, so of course I'm close to the turn, and I have a long wait after that. And so it came back, and I missed a lot of like good running backs and things like that. But then I went ahead and took J.K. Dobbins and A.J. Brown on the turn, and once again I'm kind of going with upside there. Like I know J.K. Dobbins is not necessarily like the full PPR like god or anything like that, but I feel like in this setting where you get bonuses for touchdowns and first downs and whatever else that you can go ahead and get some pretty good points from him. And then obviously AJ Brown. Another long wait, but then I went ahead and took another one of my favorite players, Marquise Brown and Jerry Jeudy there at the turn. Went ahead and kind of like finished up my wide receivers there, or not finished up, but like kind of got my starting lineup going. And then my last 2 picks, we're through the 11th round now. I went ahead and took Tony Pollard and Baker Mayfield. And Baker's my QB2. That wasn't exactly how I was planning things, but just the way that QBs went and the way that this draft went, I just said screw it. At least Baker's the starter, and I actually wanted Mariota to kind of stack with Kyle Pitts, and he went like 5 picks before Baker. So I was unfortunate there. I really thought the Mariota was going to fall because I didn't realize that somebody was actually a bigger Mariota fan than I am. But here we are.
So you can go ahead and grab Ritter because he's going to probably take over. What do you think, Fry? You think Ritter's? When do you think he's going to take the job?
Right now, from
2027.
Yeah, from watching camp film and everything else, Mariota does look pretty good from what I'm watching on film. I was going to get a chance to see him on Friday. I was going to go down to the Jet practice, but some personal things popped up. I'm not able to do that. But like I said, from watching film, Mariota really looks like the guy right now. Ritter's not having a bad camp, but Mariota just looks good. Listen, when you're throwing to guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and those tall receivers, it's easy. Those guys are going up and getting the balls, and they're winning the 50-50 balls right now. I was high on Drake London. I would want him in every league because I think he's going to be one heck of a receiver. Imagine him with Pitts on a regular basis. He's going to be good. He's a good replacement for Julio Jones. That's their replacement.
London was my wide receiver one coming out. Bless you, Shane. Shane's a little under the weather. We know, Shane.
I'm trying.
You're gonna turn it around, man. In a few days, you're gonna perk back up. All right. The doctors got you in the right way. Shane's a warrior, getting through this episode for us. But yeah, I had Drake London as my wide receiver one. I'm pretty excited for him, and I agree. Those huge receivers, big catch radius. Nothing's better for a quarterback like Marcus Mariota. That's a big help. So my roster. I went with Slimer first pick, and then I got Pacheco. So he's the dude who I know. I heard Justin the other day on the Kansas City Chiefs episode. I commented potato, Pacheco. I don't know, but I think it's Pacheco. But I'm going to be counting on him because, like Shane, I went very light on running back. So I got Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson, who I feel great about. I got Aaron Jones, who's another guy I feel great about. I think he's going to get a lot of receptions. I think he's going to get the volume. I'm going to have to try to dig later to get a running back because I don't think Pacheco is going to be – I don't know what he's going to be. It's too much of a wild card for me to count on him. I was hoping to get Cordero Patterson. Somebody picked him up, but I'm loaded at wide receiver. You guys know, everyone who listens to the show, the guys who are at Toilets to Titles, you all know how high I am on Jalen Waddle. I said he's going to be this year's Cooper Kupp. I got Cooper Kupp and I got Jalen Waddle. I got Mike Williams as well. I think he's going to have a big year. We did some projections at Toilets to Titles. They're going to be up on the site. And I did the Chargers. And I had him for like 1,300, 1,400 yards, like leading the Chargers in yards. So that would be huge if he lives up to that. Then I got Juju Smith-Schuster, who just by being there in Kansas City, I've already seen him connecting with Patrick Mahomes. I think as my wide receiver 4, so I'm going to go wide receiver heavy. And then I kind of mentioned it earlier. I got Zach Ertz. I believe it was Shane who was saying that, Hopkins is out. He's suspended. So it's Hollywood Brown's going to get a lot of work. But I also think Zach Ertz is going to get a lot of work. He gets a little dinged up. So I'm not
Hollywood.
Really concerned about him getting Hollywood.
It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood.
Hollywood is what?
No, I'm saying Hollywood's the one that's going to take advantage. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was trying to make a joke.
It's going to be Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is going to take advantage of that. Zach Ertz, I'll do a bathroom board bet with you right now.
Isn't he hurt? Isn't he hurt?
He's always hurt. He's a veteran.
Exactly. So why are we talking about him?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Trey McBride's the future, baby.
Okay. Yeah, in 2027.
No, 2022, baby.
Yeah. All right. Tight ends. We're talking about tight end. Tight ends take about 4 years. We had first tight end ever top 1,000 yards since Mike Ditka, or to ever do anything since Mike Ditka.
Tell that to Kyle Pitts and Pat Freiermuth last year.
That's what I'm talking about. Kyle Pitts. Pat Freiermuth is not on Kyle Pitts' level. Whatever. Zach Ertz, I think he's going to get it done this year. I think he's going to. I would put it on the bathroom board with you that Zach Ertz has more receptions than Hollywood Brown by the time Hopkins comes back.
That's a good one. That's a good bet. Either way, I mean that's a
you're
that's
done.
Okay.
You already lost. Let's do it.
Say what you want, and we'll talk when it's over. All right.
Absolutely.
So Zach Ertz is going to get the volume, so I like it. I do need to find a running back. There's a few guys I'm keeping an eye on. I don't want to mention them because I'm afraid I'm going to get taken. All right, down here I'm seeing Jason Watson. He's got Derrick Henry, who he's loving because we got some bonuses for carries. Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins. Thinking that's Elijah Moore or DJ Moore, I'm sorry. And then the Blob card. And then we got Rich, who's got Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield, Alvin Kamara, Elijah Mitchell, Devin Singletary, Devontae Adams, Deontay Johnson, Drake London, Adam Thielen. So his draft is rolling. So he's got a lot there. So, guys, I want to wrap this thing up. I'm going to pass it to you guys. I want to hear your final thoughts, kind of going into the rest of the draft, how you kind of think the season's going to go. And I'm actually going to start with you, Justin. What did you have a plan for the rest of the draft, or what are your closing thoughts on this episode?
Well, my plan was to try to get a second big tight end this next round because of the extra premium, and that was going to be my flex going into it. But we recently just hit a couple of the tight ends. Like if you look on my fantasy league on the ADPs and all that sort of stuff, it showed those tight ends were a lot further down. So I thought maybe I could get them this next round, but I think there are actually finally more people that are paying attention to the rules and the point system and all that sort of stuff than there was at the beginning. I think you finally convinced everybody to look at them and not just 35% of us. So that's kind of hurting me a little bit. But I do need more running back help. But at this point, I'm kind of wondering if I'm not just going to keep playing the game and trying to get big upside everywhere else, and then just try to steal a running back later. It's going to be more difficult for me to steal because I didn't choose a stealing type of card. So I do have to consider that as well. So,
all right, Shane, what about you, my man?
Yeah, I haven't drafted a non-rookie running back yet, so I might want to get a couple of those at some point. But, I always like to be incredibly weak at one starting position. So week 1, I'm just going to give that to my first week opponent. That's what I want to do. I don't want a great team completely, because then who am I giving up? You don't want that. So my RB2 is going to be pretty weak, and he'll be on someone else's roster after that. But I'm excited. I'm taking my card in the last round. I already pre-drafted my last round pick with all the cards remaining. I'll be taking it in the last round, and if it works out well, if I get the right card or two, then I'm going to use it on Justin with the Slimer card. He will be getting my card, and it's going to work. He's not going to be able to stop it. So I'm going to make that proclamation. Now, if I get the wrong card, it might be tough to do, but we'll see what happens. I think I found a way that he better stay on his toes here.
All right, John, I'll pass it back to you, my man. So what are your thoughts on the rest of the draft? You got any plans for us?
Sorry, I was looking up Zach Ertz's stats and how he actually had less receptions than Pat Fryermuth last year. But so I was honestly, I have a long wait before my next pick. Once again, I'm on the turn, and I just picked Baker Mayfield 2 picks ago, so I probably won't be picking until tomorrow. Obviously, at some point, I'm going to be going ahead and taking one of those cards. I don't know. I'm going to start looking more into it here, but I feel pretty confident with how I am at every position. So I don't really feel weak at any position or anything like that. But I don't know. I'm starting to feel better about my team. It was pretty rough when I first started, but I'm starting to feel a little bit better.
You do know that Zach Ertz had 763 yards last year, right?
Last year in 2021?
Yeah.
Zach Ertz
74 receptions.
You can look at games too, right?
You can look at that, right? Get back to me later.
I'm looking at.
I don't know what you're looking at, man. But
2021, 56, 574, 47.
That was just with Arizona. He had some time.
Well, okay. Is he on 2 teams this year, or is he on 1? I just wanted to make sure.
That doesn't make any sense. Kevin, I'm gonna pass it to you, Kevin. What are your thoughts?
Actually, you got to find backups. You got to find capable guys. Right now, I got to concentrate a little more on running back. Like you said, there's a couple running backs that are out there that I really want to take a look at. At first, I thought I was crappy with wide receivers, so I spent a lot of time on the wide receivers. Still able to get like a DJ Moore and McLaren and stuff like that. I was looking at Lockett, but Lockett just went this last round. So now I really got to start looking at the running backs. I don't know. It's such a crapshoot right now. With losing players and everything. It's like you could feel comfortable with your roster and everything, and you have one bad week. That first week could be a bad week, and next thing you know, you're bang. Dalvin Cook is gone from my team. It's just, everything is just such a crapshoot that.
Yeah. So true.
You have to be lucky,
Yeah.
It's not even about being smart. It's about being lucky and having good weeks. You know, the only thing you can do is make sure that you have some capable backups. But like I said, you look at our division, and you know, Coach A, John, you know, he starts behind the 8 ball, and he's got a decent team. You know, so our division, I feel, is pretty strong. I really haven't looked at any of the other divisions and stuff like that. And right now, it's a crapshoot. It's like taking dice and rolling it out and taking a chance. You got to be lucky.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
I'll
Joe.
Every week, I'll be taking my lucky rabbit foot and putting it right on my lineup before I send it in.
I kind of wish that Justin was in my division, because you know he went ahead and he talked about his poor luck last year, and he went ahead and drafted an injured player in Matthew Stafford this year. So like he just like started out like helping his league mates, and yet you know he's not helping me though, unfortunately. So but I appreciate the kind words, Coach Fred. Thank you very much.
So
No,
Joe,
hey, listen,
listen.
I love the Baker Mayfield pick. I think that's a good one. I really do.
Thank you.
I can't wait for
it. It was the last of a tier as far as I was concerned.
Cleveland loved their Baker Mayfield pick too.
Yeah. So I'm going to pass it to Joe I, but before I do, Joe knows, he'll let you know that he got lucky last year. He had absolutely no idea what he was doing. It's all about rolling. It's about gaining some steam and gaining some momentum. All right, so the last guy, I'm going to pass it off. Then I'm going to close this thing up. So Joe I, what are your closing thoughts on this league, this draft so far, and what's going forward?
I mean, I agree with building depth. I feel pretty good about my team. I got to beef up my second tight end, and I need to win week 1 so I can steal a quarterback and have a better QB2. But I'm pretty psyched about these last 10 rounds, ready to rock. And yeah, man. And then the other part is I can't wait to see what the hell you guys do to enhance this thing for next year already. I'm completely sold and infatuated, and I think it's freaking phenomenal.
Man, we're already thinking about doing a bonus for the division that gets done the quickest in the draft. But I was also thinking you get disqualified if you auto draft. So you cannot earn the bonus if a single auto drafted pick is made. So it needs to be clean slate. Like, you know, I feel like that'll make it, you know, a little more legitimate. We're already working on the one card.
John, we got 2 foreigners in our division. You can't do that to us.
We're still rolling, baby. We're still rolling.
Yeah, we've done a pretty good job.
It takes what it takes. You know what I mean? If we want to win, we got to earn it. You know that. You're a coach. We have 3 coaches in this room right now. We got to earn that stuff. There's no shortcuts, all right, to greatness. But the next one is that we're working on the one card to rule them all. I know Justin's got some things he's working on, so don't be certain. All right, you can rest assured that we are going to be working in the background, and things are going to pop up, because especially when we're talking about this stuff and when we're rolling, it's usually the beginning of the off season, and we have nothing but time. So we get working. But everybody, go ahead, Justin. I'm sorry.
Not only that, but like the card idea started as a joke, and then boom, a week later we have docs and we've got separate chats and we've got graphics going, and it's like John gets focused on something and he's not going to stop until it is done and perfected.
Yeah, I can't help it. All right. Well, everybody, this has been a great episode. I appreciate all of you coming on this evening. We got Coach Jay, we got Joe Rachu, we got Kevin Fry, we got Shane Howell, my main man, Justin Stevens. Hope everybody listened at home. If you are playing in Frankenstank, hopefully this helped you get a better idea of what you're doing. Not so much so that you beat me this year, but enough that you keep coming back. And if you're listening to this and you're not playing in the Frankenstank League, reach out to us. All right, you can get in 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can get in. We're doing giveaways throughout the season. You can get in by joining the Patreon. We appreciate the support. We appreciate everybody watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay tuned, and we'll see you all next week.